No theme is more poetic than the death of a beautiful woman. Okay, the guy's nuts. Johann Jack Unterweger, known as the Vienna Strangler, the Vienna Woods Killer, and the Poet of Death, is an Austrian serial killer and rapist who was convicted of murdering 10 women, but very likely murdered at least 13, all across Austria, West Germany, Czechoslovakia, and the United States. The authorities got him for his first murder, but for some crazy reason, they released him after 15 years in a huge petition, only for him to continue his killing spree, targeting at least another 9 women, probably 12 or even more. Hi there, my name's Misha, and this is Mom.
Hi.
Welcome to All Things True Crime, or welcome back if you're a regular. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to like it, share it, comment, and subscribe to my channel so you won't miss my next video. And then ding the bell, that way you'll get notified the next time I upload. That's All Things True Crime. It's truly chill. Little Johann is born August 16, 1950 in Austria. What do we know about where he was born?
Well, some sources say in Judenburg, a historic town in Styria, Austria. Others say Graz, the capital of Styria, Austria. Styria is a mountainous and forested state in southern Austria. It's known for its castles, spas, and wine. Sounds beautiful and great, but not for little Johann. He is born to a Viennese barmaid, waitress, and prostitute, and an American soldier who meet in Trieste, Italy, if I'm pronouncing that right. But Daddy-O doesn't stick around or take them with him, so the woman is left to raise Johann as a single mom. Even before he is born, though, his mother has run-ins with the law, being arrested for fraud, even while pregnant with Johann. She's arrested again in 1953 when Johann is 3, and he is sent to live with his grandfather in Carinthia, which is the southernmost state in Austria, situated within the Eastern Alps, known for its mountains and lakes. Maybe this will be a welcome change for Johann and provide him with a better home life and upbringing. Well, false. His grandfather is a rough guy, a violent, abusive alcoholic who introduces Johann to booze at the age of 5.
Yikes.
Yeah. As Johann gets older, his grandfather enlists his help in stealing farm animals, part of the family business, I presume.
Oh, so sweet.
From this point in time, and at age 5, for around 10 years, we don't know much about Johann's life. No specifics, really, except that he spent a good part of his childhood behind bars. He pops back up on the radar in 1966 when he lands a job as a waiter. From 1966 through 1974, he's convicted 16 times for theft, pimping, and sexual assault, spending most of these 8 years in jail. Oh my. Johann, or Jack as he likes to be called, says that at age 16 he's already an accomplished pimp, saying, "I wielded my steel rod among the prostitutes of Hamburg and Munich and Marseille." Oh dear. "I had enemies and conquered them through my inner hatred." Whatever that's supposed to mean.
So by 1974, he is 24 years old, and Johann comes to his girlfriend's friend's house, a lady by the name of Margaret Schaefer, who is just 18 years old at the time. They talk, and when she refuses his inevitable sexual advances, he simply strangles her with her own bra. When asked why he did it, he says that it was because he saw his mother's face when he looked at her. In that moment, and feelings of childhood abandonment resurfaced and enveloped him. He's nuts. Authorities quickly link him to the crime, and he is arrested, and in 1976, convicted of life in prison. Okay, good.
Yeah.
During this prison sentence, he writes poetry, oh how sweet, and a few books. His autobiography becomes a bestseller, unfortunately, and another book wins a prestigious prize. This attention that he's receiving, it ends up being really beneficial to him, and that's the opposite of beneficial to society. By 1985, after just 9 years in prison, the president of Austria, Rudolf Kirchschlager, receives a petition for Johann's release. This petition is formed out of a massive campaign comprised of journalists, artists, writers, and even politicians, including an editor of an Austrian literature magazine and 2 Nobel Prize winners. It's ridiculous. Thankfully, the president rejects the petition, citing the court-mandated 15-year minimum sentence for murder. So, a short 6 years later, in 1990, Johann is released because he had served the 15 years, or maybe 16 when you count the time he was awaiting trial and was in jail, and then during the trial. Shortly after his release, his autobiography is pumped into the school system and taught to children. I don't even know what that means or why you would do something so stupid. His children's stories are read and performed on the radio. He gets TV hosting gigs discussing criminal rehabilitation. Okay. And since his literary works convinced so many people he'd been reformed, he even works as a reporter for a public broadcaster, during which he covers murders that he committed and is later found guilty of.
That's
creepy.
not creepy.
Right. He also interviews the Vienna chief of police about the murders that he's committed. I'm sure he made the chief look like a dummy. This is before he was convicted of them. He's just doing his job as a journalist, interviewing about the people that had been murdered, that he had been the one murdering. Okay. After a mere 4 months after his release, he meets a woman named Blanka Bokova. Okay, poor girl's name. Yikes. And she's found strangled in Prague. And little Johann, as I like to call him, because he wants to be called Jack, so I refuse. He's Johann. He just happens to be visiting Prague when this murder occurs. Oh, what happenstance. Police investigate him and find no concrete evidence that links him to the crime. It's awfully convenient. Around the time of his first murder after his release, the first murder after he's released, he is being featured on talk shows, and one of his books becomes a movie, and then one of his plays goes on tour, like I mentioned before. It's absolutely insane. I mean, it doesn't even sound real. It's like it's out of a novel or something. I don't know.
Well, in the next 8 months, 7 Austrian women are found murdered in similar fashion, and these women range in age from 23 to 39. Well, police conclude that most have been strangled by their own bras, but not just with their bras, though uniquely with their bras that had been tied in a very distinctive knot. They determined that this type of knot allows the murderer to choke his victims until they pass out, then easily revive them and start all over again. Dear God.
You hear about guys that, wake their victims up and just so that they can torture them again. So this is similar, yeah.
Well, these girls are also sexually assaulted before being dumped in the woods. The act of strangling and then dumping in the woods earned him the monikers the Vienna Strangler and the Vienna Woods Killer. Of course, the poetry he wrote in prison is what actually earns him the moniker the Poet of Death. Very creepy. By mid-1991, an Austrian magazine hires him to write about crime in Los Angeles, California, USA. They specifically want him to write about crime against prostitutes in LA. Really? You're going to hire this dude to write about that? Are you kidding me?
Sure.
So he meets with the LAPD because he clearly has no problem mingling with the police while he's murdering women just left and right. And convinces them to allow him to participate in a ride-along, which is where a civilian can ride in the back of a cop car and observe officers on duty responding to calls and stuff. He specifically asks for a ride-along of the red light district. So let me get this straight. He's a psychotic murderer of women who lands a job writing about hookers and then convinces the police to give him a detailed tour of the red light district. That has got to be the perfect cover for him to murder. So the cops know he's there writing about it. They know to expect him and not to suspect him. And then they show him all the ins and outs and basically everything he needs to know in order to navigate the district and hunt more women. I wonder if these cops feel like idiots after he's caught. I mean, I know I would.
Yeah.
So he sets up shop at this nasty Cecil Hotel that's known for renting these girls' rooms by the hour. And he lures prostitutes in his room under the guise of interviewing them for the magazine, which, may I remind you, is his actual job. They happily oblige, and once behind closed doors of his room, he beats them, sexually assaults them, and murders them with his signature bra knot. He commits at least 3 murders while in LA.
Paid to interview hookers when you were a murderer of hookers.
Exactly.
Wow.
Just so happens, though, that during his murderous time in LA, Austrian police are still investigating and have collected enough evidence to arrest him.
Nice.
By the time they go to his home, though, he's already in LA.
Right.
What a sneaky dude.
Mm-hmm.
Now with 3 bodies in LA, all matching his MO, the LAPD starts working with the Austrian police to match timelines and are convinced he is, in fact, the Vienna Strangler and the Poet of Death. He realizes they're onto him just in time, so he hightails it out of LA. He first heads to Switzerland, and then Paris, and then on to Miami.
He should have stayed in Switzerland
Yeah.
for extradition. Okay.
Exactly. In Miami, the FBI has agents pose as reporters from a magazine, and they offer him 8,000 euros to tell his side of the story. Busted, psycho. So he's extradited back to Austria, charged with the 11 murders, found guilty of 9 of them, thankfully, and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. I mean, he should have gotten that the first time. On the night of his sentencing, he hangs himself in his cell using his shoelaces. Some sources say his jumpsuit drawstring, others say his pants to tie the same knot he murdered all those women with. Kind of a poetic ending for the Poet of Death.
This is another example of a country that gives murderers a set sentencing, like a lot of South American countries give like 25, 30 years, and that's it. Like, and some of the lawmakers in South American countries have even admitted that their laws aren't designed with serial killers in mind.
Right.
This reminds me of that because 15 years was like the sentencing, and then he was good to get let out if they wanted to. It makes no sense to me.
It doesn't.
So he hung himself. He deserved a far worse ending, but it makes me feel a little bit better that he felt so crappy and such hopelessness that he hung himself. And if he didn't feel hopeless, but maybe thought, he was going to pull a fast one and escape prison by, committing suicide, I still smile because, he should have just spent the rest of his life in prison because that pales in comparison to what was waiting for him on the other side.
True.
So the biggest slap in the face to the victims and their loved ones, besides the murders themselves, comes straight from Austrian law. So since Johann declared his intention to appeal his guilty verdict, but died beforehand, right, his conviction isn't even considered valid on the sole basis of a legal technicality. And then according to Austrian law, so he is considered an innocent man.
Wow.
Yeah. One thing about his trial, so this is really interesting. Even though he's arrested in 92, he's able to use various legal maneuverings to prevent his trial from starting for 2 whole years. Even so, kicks off in April of 1994 and lasts for only 2 months. The court has FBI experts testify, as well as Interpol agents and Austrian law enforcement. He remains arrogant this entire time, always smiling at the cameras. All the while, there's just a mountain of evidence, hard evidence, just piling up against him. I don't know what he was thinking, what he thought was going to happen. It's mind-boggling. So here it is. A bomb that is apparently planted in the courthouse is detonated during his jury deliberations on his case on the very day they were finalizing their decision and presenting it to the court. Now, could you argue that the bomb was planted for other reasons for another case? I mean, sure.
Oh, yeah.
Of course. But it's awfully coincidental, if you ask me. I mean, if Johann is responsible for the bomb, it explains why he's so smiling and optimistic during the 2-month trial. Or else he's just crazy and was being smiley. That's possible, too.
Yeah.
In spite of all the expert testimonies and mountain of evidence against him, he just cheesed. I don't know. I mean, I wonder how far he was, willing to go for this. Murder all the jurors? They can get new jurors. What does that plan look like? Was it to create a diversion and escape? Probably. Makes the most sense. Either way, it didn't work. The jury decided, the courts convicted him that afternoon, and at around 3:30 a.m. the following morning, he is found hanged in his cell. Upon investigating his death, authorities recovered several audio cassettes but have never revealed their contents. Okay, that's creepy.
Probably good, though.
Yes. So if you enjoyed this video, please remember to share it, like it, comment, and subscribe to this channel. Next week, we're going to learn all about the Sleepy Hollow Killer, an unidentified South African serial killer and rapist who is believed to have raped and murdered at least 13 women, mostly prostitutes, in and around Pietermaritzburg and the Midlands of KwaZulu-Natal from 1990 to 2007. Catch this disturbing story next time, right here on All Things True Crime. It's truly chilling. Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay safe.